when we look at the pack, can you pull up the past group of transfers that came in? Because I think we all thought that they were all going to be all SEC players, and that has not been the case. As a matter of fact, I have them pulled up right now. I'm just getting some. By the way, the Cranberry Sprite Zero is absolutely horrible. I just got an ad for that. You don't want any part of that. Run from that. Like, I don't know. What's the worst Thanksgiving side? That cranberry stuff with cranberries in it, cranberry sauce with the cranberries in it. Is that the worst?
Green beans with the little stems in there.
Oh, who doesn't? By the way, I'm to the point. I don't know if I'm getting old, John. Maybe I should ask you.
You are getting old.
Yeah, no, I'm to the point where I'm over the casseroles and I just want the sides, like a well done side of green beans as opposed to green beans with some mysterious mushroom Campbell soup in it.
Well, yeah, I'm not picky. I just want it to taste good.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So
my brother-in-law cooks. He'll bring over a dish. And I'm
yeah.
not going to eat it just because he cooked it. It better taste good.
All right. Speaking of tasting good, there were some prospects that didn't taste too good for Tennessee's football program. Let me start.
It's a weird way to phrase it.
Yeah, no,
it's an incredibly terrible segue, but
yes,
that's what you need to do sometimes. No,
yeah,
no problem.
Yeah, they can't all be winners.
No.
Gabe Jeudy-Lally, John Campbell Jr., Omarr Norman-Lott, Dante Thornton Jr., Keenan Pili, Andrej Karic, Charles Campbell, McCallan Castles. Pardon me. Let's look at that list. Gabe Jeudy-Lally is probably my favorite because of his selflessness on this group. John Campbell Jr. was a bona fide starter. I never thought he was a great starter, despite him making Cole Kubelik's videos. Omarr Norman-Lott, I think, is obviously pretty good, and I came on at the end of the season. Dante Thornton Jr., up and down, started down, got up. Keenan Pili hurt for the season. Andrej Karic only found the field when there were other injuries in front of him. Charles Campbell can kick. McCallan Castles was definitely a good pickup. So if Tennessee gets a similar class of transfers that they got this year and they get it next year, John, how do you feel about Tennessee's ability to take another step ahead?
They'll take another step backward. You got to get more out of the transfer portal than that. When you're going to get a transfer, you're not trying to get a guy that will be a strong backup. You're not trying to get somebody that can fill in when a starter's hurt. You're looking for guys that come in and start. I mean, kind of like Brew McCoy did. That's what you want in a transfer. Look at last year when Billy Napier brought in Osiris Torrance from his former school, Louisiana, and a guy became an all-SEC offensive lineman. That's what you want. You're not looking for guys you need to develop. It's kind of like getting JUCOs, except it's even more extreme. These guys have to be coming in and play. I mean, Dante Thornton made a nice catch before he got hurt, but that guy was a bust. He's a bust. You expected him to come in and catch 40 passes. This kind of recruiting class from the transfer portal will set Tennessee back if it's no better next season.
Yeah, I think the transfer portal has gone now from the sweet potato casserole that was okay. Some people like it, some people didn't, to turkey for Thanksgiving. You better have a damn turkey on the table. And I don't think Tennessee had a turkey on the table for this transfer class. Too many turkeys, as a matter of fact. Injuries played a factor into that. But if they repeat this group and they stay healthy, Caleb, let me make it harder on you. If they repeat this kind of group heading into the 2024 season, do you believe Tennessee is elevated and a championship contender with this group that stays healthy?
Yeah, and actually, I'm going to disagree with John a little bit on this. I think it's hard to evaluate this transfer class because of injuries. Look, Keenan Pili, Tennessee has had major issues at middle linebacker this year, and they had no depth there. I think we all agree Keenan Pili healthy would have been a huge difference. We didn't see enough of him, but I'm about 95% sure he'd have been a great player had he been healthy the whole year for Tennessee. And we brought up Gabe Jeudy-Lally. Look at Omarr Norman-Lott. He's now turned into the best defensive tackle on this team. And the best defensive tackle as part of the best unit. I don't know if you guys noticed, the defensive line is by far the best unit on this team, and Omarr Norman-Lott is the anchor of that. John Campbell Jr. emerged into a really good left tackle until he got hurt. I think the only one you could really say Heupel missed on towards the end. I understand your point about Dante Thornton, John, and Dave knows I was the toughest critic. I do think he was starting to emerge just before he got hurt, but I get your point. You bring in a transfer like Dante Thornton because you expect him to play and be ready to go week 1. You don't expect him to be ready, wait till November for him to be ready to go. So I understand your point on that, but Omarr Norman-Lott was ready to go and turned out well. John Campbell Jr. was ready to go and turned out well. Keenan Pili would have been ready to go and would have turned out well. And Gabe Jeudy-Lally was ready to go and turned out well. I think the only clear-cut miss was Andrej Karic, who I just think can't play football.
Okay, but let me ask you this. How many of these guys had impacts, okay? And, John, I want to ask you this. It's brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Enjoy life better when you see better. Local vision service for LASIK, cataract surgery, and regular eye examinations. Look at me. I can see. ccteyes.com, ccteyes.com. Couple of people that I'm going to pick on for a second. John Campbell Jr. was fine at left tackle, but goodness gracious, with the state that they were in, somebody had to start there, right? And Dante Thornton, I thought, showed up young. I'm not counting the injuries, but I don't think he was prepared for the college level. So, yes, these guys were supporting players, but what about a Jahmyr Gibbs at Alabama that's a true impact player? Shouldn't Tennessee fans and Josh Heupel expect to get one of those guys, the type of guy that wins a game? The best you got out of this group was McCallan Castles, and I don't think he affected the record.
Of course they should. I mean, if they're trying to win championships, they need to bring in a guy that has an immediate impact. Hendon Hooker had an impact. That kind of player. You look, Jaden Daniels, an LSU transfer from Arizona State. I think he's done okay. He might win the Heisman. Tennessee's not picking up any Heisman candidates. Gabe Jeudy-Lally, if you get a transfer coming into this secondary and he doesn't come in and start immediately, you failed.
Fair.
This is not a good secondary. Keenan Pili, I think Keenan Pili could have really helped at linebacker. I can't say for sure he'd have been an outstanding linebacker. I don't think he would have been an all-SEC caliber linebacker. But some of these other schools are getting all-conference caliber players. And if you want to compete with them in the transfer, that's where you got to hit some home runs. Tennessee did that with Hendon Hooker. I don't think it realized it had hit a home run. I think thought it hit a bloop single, but the ball cleared the fence, and he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. So that's what you need to get out of the portal. You need to get those kind of guys.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that they need to be 2 or 3 guys like a Jahmyr Gibbs at Alabama that have a big impact. I don't think that you need to build your team around transfer guys because this team does have the kumbaya feel. We've seen that be successful before. The other end is you coach them hard and you say, if you don't like it, leave. You're going to be ready for the NFL. And that's Georgia, Alabama. Other than that, the kumbaya feel has worked at places, Southern California, Miami, some of those places. So if you're going to bring those guys in and not disrupt chemistry, then they need to play. They need to have an impact. So the question is, how much doubt, pardon me, do you have in Josh Heupel? Some, 72%, enough, 6%, too much, 22%. Anything about those numbers surprise you guys?
Dave, I apologize. I was reading a post from Robert Rexroad. When is this show going to focus on the Ladies Lingerie Football League? That kind of caught my eye. Go over those percentages again, please.
Dave's going to star in it this year, guys.
Yeah. Some, 72%, enough, 6%, too much, 22%. How much doubt do you have in Josh Heupel?
I think those percentages are pretty accurate. It's not as though everybody's abandoned the Josh Heupel ship. I think they just have some concerns about how this season went, how games went, and are wondering why he tries to kick these field goals at the meaningless field goals near the end of games. They're laughable. So just things like that. And the quarterback, I think the quarterback issue dominates the fan base. Why did you think this guy was going to be a big time quarterback?
Well, and I think we talked about it. The guys at Notre Dame now, Caleb, they could have gone out and gotten another quarterback, and there was really no desire for them to do so in the transfer portal. And I remember John talking to him about that. He said, "Oh, they'll pick up a quarterback." They didn't.
Well,
oh,
sorry.
Go ahead, Cal. No, go ahead.
Wasn't Dave? You and John, you guys are both more plugged in than me on this. How aggressive do you think Josh Heupel was in the transfer portal to maybe try to get a quarterback last December, and it just didn't pan out? He just couldn't get one.
I think that's exactly what happened. It was the way things developed, because Joe Milton was a offensive MVP of the Orange Bowl, and you're bringing in the number one recruit in the country at quarterback. So if you're Sam Hartman or some other transfer portal, you make your next move, it's got to be somewhere you're going to start. Now, some guys, a number of quarterbacks did that and they didn't start. But if you're really careful about it, why would you come into a program and the quarterback with whom you're going to compete was just MVP of the Orange Bowl, knows the system, knows the players he set? So I think it would have been extremely difficult to get a top flight transfer quarterback to come in here.
Okay, let me tell you why I disagree with that. And it's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. Don't trust a fly-by-night HVAC company to tell you that you need a new unit. You might just need a new part or Freon. So don't spend thousands when you don't have to. cityheatandair.com. Here's why I disagree with that. I think you sit down, you have a conversation, you put your arm around whoever the quarterback is that you really want, that you think can take you to the next level. And let's say that's Sam Hartman. You put your arm around him, you watch a little tape, you say, look at this, the guy can't play. You know it, I know it, we all know it. So you can come in here and compete for a starting position. And it's an offense that you can just absolutely blow it up in. Now, that's not to say that he'll definitely come, but that was not Josh Heupel's approach from the get. At least if he would have had that approach and gotten told no by Hartman, I think Tennessee fans would feel a lot better, like they were stuck in this position and like they didn't drive down the road in this position.
Well, I just don't think a quarterback would buy that. I mean, coaches say anything to get a player on campus. I mean, I just don't think there's any way a quarterback, because you say what you will about Joe Milton, he was MVP of the Orange Bowl. So why would you see him? You see the arm. I think when an athlete has great physical skills, other athletes are swayed by that. They're dazzled by it sometimes. Sam Hartman saying, "Man, I can't throw a ball like that." I just think that makes a really favorable impression on players. So I don't think there's any way they could have gotten a quarterback of that caliber here. I just don't.
What do you think, Caleb?
Yeah, I'm kind of with John. It's kind of how everything developed. The mistake started all the way back in 2021 when Josh Heupel went for Joe Milton and didn't just go for Joe Milton, guys. And as much as I'm defending Josh Heupel now, I was probably his loudest critic during this moment, because it was very obvious to me that he didn't just go for Joe Milton. He went for Joe Milton and tried to clear the quarterback room for Milton. I don't know if you guys remember Joe Milton. He transferred from Michigan, committed to Tennessee, but committed late, so he wasn't able to take part in spring practice. Josh Heupel is selling us all in this open quarterback competition in the spring game. And here's Joe Milton on the sideline just watching. He brings Joe Milton on the sideline to watch, and it's becoming very clear to everybody that, this isn't even a real competition. Joe Milton's going to be the starter the minute he sets foot on campus, and there's not even going to be a chance. And then it looked even worse when Milton got the nod, and 2 games in, Hendon Hooker comes in, and even I remember when Hendon Hooker came in against Pittsburgh and threw that interception. Even with that interception, John, you still thought he was significantly better, right?
Oh yeah, I mean the eye test, it was no comparison. You're right.